Hey guys, my name is Katerina Lengold. Welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to talk about the art of focus, and we're going to go through 3 steps. We're going to start with the neuroscience of focus. What is focus? Why do we get distracted? What focus is and what focus isn't. Then we're going to talk about specific things you can do to create great conditions for distraction-free environment. So how you can change your state and how you can change your surrounding environment to maximize your capacity to focus. And finally, we're going to talk about the superpower of focus and how to train this focus muscle. I believe it's not something that just some people have and others don't. I think it's something you can train. And we're going to talk through every step of the way. I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide how you can train it on a daily basis so that you can be laser focused and get great things accomplished. Let's get started. So what is focus? I really like this quote by Steve Jobs. I think it's spot on. And so it reads, people think that focus means saying yes to the thing you've got to focus on, but that's not what it means at all. It means saying no to the 100 other good ideas that are out there. So that's exactly right. People think that they need to train themselves to create focus on one thing, but in reality, what they need to learn is to fight distractions. So if you're able to eliminate distractions, then you automatically are focused. And it's so hard to avoid distractions because evolutionary, we are not designed to fight distractions. In fact, we are designed, our brain through millions of years of evolution has been designed to scan the environment for potential threats and potential rewards. So we always look out for something changing in the external environment. And in today's day and age, yes, there are no tigers and mammoths running around, which we need to pay attention to. Instead, you have this thing, which dings all the time, and there are notifications and there are messages and there are things that create a positive feedback loop. So what is it? So when you get a notification, when somebody tries to reach out to you, or you get a like or comment in your social media, you feel dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter that is responsible for motivation. It feels really good to know that there's something out there and that somebody thinks of you. And there's another component to social media, which is this social tribe element, where we get this surge of oxytocin, which is a hormone responsible to our feeling of belonging to our tribe. And so when we hear a notification bell, where we get a comment, when we see an email, we get dopamine and oxytocin released. And those things are creating those positive feedback loops. So we train our brains to respond to those notifications because it feels good. We get rewarded on a chemical level in our body. We get rewarded for responding to those notifications. So we tend to do it over and over again, and it's really hard to resist it because, again, our brain has been designed to monitor for potential changes in the environment and also for information from the tribe. Because if somebody kicks you out of the tribe, that's it. It's like your survival depends on the acceptance of the tribe. So social media is actually the perfect storm, which is really hard to fight. And so we're going to talk about things we can do about it. So we'll start with the environment, right? Because we can do all kinds of things with ourselves. We can train our focus muscle. But if we have this crazy environment, which has so many distractions built in it, we are fighting millions of battles at the same time. So how about we clean up the field a little bit? We remove some of the potential distractions. And, it could be clutter on your desk. It could be all those apps and tabs that you have open on your computer. All of them are screaming for your attention. When you have a bunch of like Post-it notes or like books and notebooks and like all kinds of stuff on your desk or on your desktop, on your computer or on your phone, all of those things are screaming for your attention, and it's really hard to ignore them. Every time you ignore them, you're wasting some energy. So close those apps, close those tabs that you're not using. Ideally, put the airplane mode on your phone so there's nothing out there. even better, you can leave your phone in a different room when you're focusing on something, so they will take you a minute to go get it, and the chances of you getting distracted by whatever happens with your phone is dramatically decreased. And then headphones, noise cancellation headphones, a great way to filter through the background noise from people walking around you, asking you questions. It's also a good signal for people around you to demonstrate that you're busy, and you're less likely to be distracted. So those little tweaks, really simple steps, can decrease the number of potential distractions. So with the remaining ones, you will have more bandwidth to deal with, right? And then to deal with distractions, you need energy. So if you are exhausted, if you're not in a good physical or emotional state, there is only so much you can do. Like, again, think of distractions as those little battles happening around you. And yes, you want to minimize the number of those battles, but you also want to maximize your strength to be able to win those battles, to say no to things you don't want to deal with. And it really depends on your physical and your emotional state. Physical state is primarily driven by the quality of your sleep. If you are sleep deprived, pretty much no strategy will work for you. Like, no life hack, no tips and tricks, like they won't really do anything if you're sleep deprived. So quality sleep is number one. Second thing is hydration. When we are dehydrated, we tend to get foggy, and we, like, same with fast carbs, by the way. If we eat a lot of sugar or starches like pasta and French fries, all those things increase blood sugar in our in our blood, and it makes us feel this sugar coma thing. You probably heard of it, and so it decreases our capacity to focus. So think of that. And a little bit of physical exercise, a little bit of movement goes a long ways to improve our capacity to focus, again, because it puts us in a better physical state to deal with those battles for our attention. And then there is an important component, which is our emotional state. And if, we may be very well rested, we may, had great healthy breakfast, we are well hydrated, all is good. But if we are afraid, if we're feeling anxious, if we're feeling nervous, if we're really hyped up, it's really hard to fight distractions. So there's a very simple exercise that I tend to do daily, which takes only 2 minutes, and it's called mindful breathing. Many of you probably heard about mindfulness. This is a very simple thing. So you take a breath on 4 counts, and you exhale on 6 counts. So like breathing 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So longer exhale, and you do it 10 times, and you put all of your focus, all of your attention on your breathing, the sensations in your body. I like focusing on the temperature of the air coming in and coming out, and it really calms you down. And so when you're calm, again, it's easier to fight those battles for your attention. So we talked about the evolution of our brain and how it's impacting our capacity to stay focused and why it makes us distracted. We talked about creating the proper environment, so limiting those distractions. We talked about creating the optimal physical and emotional state. And now, before I talk to you how to train those muscles and share the method, I want to ask you a quick thing. There is a like button here below this video. If you click this button, then more people will discover this video. There's only so much I can do. I can put this video out there. I can put together the best content, all the best advice that I know, that I use. But, without you helping me, without this like button, nobody will see it. It won't be discovered by others. So you can help the community of like-minded people find this video if you click it. So thank you so much for that. And let's move on. So let's talk about focus training. And I want to give you a very specific set of steps that you can follow so that you get results. So first things first, you want to start very small. So if you go to gym, the last thing you want to do is to grab the heaviest weight and just hurt yourself and be out of the gym. This is not what we want. What we want is very, very simple first steps that can progressively get more difficult. And so what I suggest is that you start with just 25 minutes a day of single, high-focused work. So 25 minutes, it's called pomodoro technique. Many of you have heard about it. So 25 minutes, you just focus on one specific task. You can switch between tasks. And you can start with just one session per day for the first week. Then the second week, you can do 2 sessions. And the third week, you can do 3 sessions. In the end of the video, I'm going to share with you the tool PDF that you can use for this. But the idea is very simple. You gradually increase that. And there are a few basic rules that you have to follow. Ideally, you want to do those things in the morning. Our capacity to focus is substantially higher in morning hours. There's a ton of research, and actually the levels of cortisol, there's a special hormone which is responsible for our capacity to focus. Many people say it's a stress hormone. It's not exactly right. So cortisol is at its peak before lunchtime. So it's from 9, 10, 11 o'clock. Those are the best hours for high focused work. So try to schedule your focus session for first part of the day. Block time in your calendar for that so that nobody can grab you from this, right? You want dedicated time for it. And then consistency is much more important than the length of the session or the number of the sessions. You want to repeat it on a daily basis. So just make sure it's consistent practice. And then you can increase either the length of the session or the number of the sessions as weeks progress. So once a week, you can increase the number of sessions. So first week 1, second week 2, week 3. And what you can also do is you can increase the length, like 25 minutes, 30 minutes, 35 minutes. Very slow, gradual change. It should be super easy for you. Like the goal is not to make it difficult for you. The goal is to make it consistent. Now, there's a special ritual that you can have when you start working on something. So first thing, you want to specify what is the task that you want to focus on. So you can take a Post-it note and write down exactly what you will focus on in the next 25 minutes. And then you can set an intention. I want to be fully present and focus deliberately on this single task. Just say it out loud. You can write it down, but just set an intention that next 25 minutes is going to be exclusively focused on this task. And then you can take 3 mindful breaths. Remember, 4 in, 6 out. And after this 3 breaths, you have much more clarity, a little bit calmer. And so you can get started, start the timer. And when you're done, make sure you celebrate. So many people think like, what? I did like 25 minutes of focused work, not a big deal. Why would I even bother celebrating? Hey, the way our brain works is that we repeat things we get rewarded for. So dopamine, we talked about it earlier, is something that is being released when we see progress, we see before and after. So one thing I like doing is I like piling those Post-it notes and have like a little stack of them, which shows my progress, things I have accomplished. Another thing that you can do is do something pleasant for yourself. I love making some tea and just spending a few minutes drinking my favorite tea. It takes a few minutes to brew it. And so it's kind of a ritual that I use to celebrate my focus because, staying focused isn't easy. And another thing I really like doing is I got a foot massager. So you can have it under your desk and then you turn it on for a few minutes as a reward. You can do a happy dance. Maybe there's your favorite music you can turn on. But you want to signal to your brain that, hey, good job. Do it again, do it again, do it again. So as you reward yourself, you form stronger desire and a positive feedback loop to repeat the action. And finally, what I want to talk about is failure, right? Because it's inevitable. Something will go wrong. You'll get an email from a friend or your colleague who will be asking for something, and you will switch your activity and you would jump from what you've been focusing on, what your intention was, to something else. Totally, absolutely 100% normal and expected, except for one thing. You have to analyze this situation the moment you notice it. So if you got distracted by an email from a colleague and jumped into a different task, make sure you take the second to analyze why exactly it happened and how can you tweak your behavior. Maybe turn off your email client before you start your focus session. And this way you extract information, you extract knowledge from your mistakes. And then they're no longer mistakes. They're actually valuable lessons. So it just completely changes the game for you. And when you turn your failures into feedback, there is no other path but progress. So make sure you do that every time, review what happened, and decide how you can improve going forward. If you feel the urge to postpone your focus session, to kind of put it off, again, notice it, be aware of it, feel it in your body, and decide how you want to proceed. So when you bring an awareness to such things, you, again, inevitably make progress. And before I summarize everything, as I promised, I will give you a little something. So if you follow the link below, there is a PDF version of my Agile planner. It's a 3-week planner based on Agile sprints, neuroscience, and self-coaching that I've designed for myself. And it's being used by hundreds of thousands of people around the world. So I grew up in Russia, and initially I published it in Russia, and it really became super popular, and now finally translated into English, and I want to share it with you. It's completely free. You can print it out. It includes instructions on how to use it, and you can actually incorporate this gradual focus building in the system. So you will set it, it will be one of your goals to improve your focus, and it will really help you guys. So I highly recommend downloading it. And now let's summarize everything we've talked about. So we started with the definition of focus. What is focus? And it's our capacity to fight distractions. It's not our capacity to keep this laser attention on something. It's actually our capacity to say no to things we do not want, we do not choose to put our attention into. And it's hard because our brains evolved to be scanning the environment for potential threats and potential rewards. And social media is a perfect storm, which gives us both dopamine and oxytocin that creates this positive feedback loop, which makes it really, really hard to stay concentrated. And we started with talking about the environment, closing those tabs, turning off the notifications on your phone, decluttering your desk, just removing those little battles for your attention happening around you so you can focus on things that matter. Then we talked about you building the energy to deal with potential distractions. So it starts with your physical energy. Sleep, number one by far. There's really not much you can do if you are sleep deprived. Hydration, exercise, and fast carbs. And then we talked about emotional side of it. And I shared the technique, 10 mindful breaths, 4 counts when you inhale, 6 counts when you exhale. Such a great thing. And again, consistency is super important. Then I asked you to like this video. Let me repeat that again. Please like this video. It will really help us share this message with wider audience. Then we talked about focus training method. 3 weeks, progressively increasing the number of those sessions, 25 minutes of single tasking, and then you can gradually increase this number. Ideally in the morning, block the time in your calendar, and consistency, consistency, and consistency. And the way you do it, you want to start with a little ritual, put it on your Post-it note or in your notebook, just make sure it's kind of in a physical form, and then set an intention. I'm going to focus just on this single task deliberately and be fully present for it. Take a few mindful breaths and start the timer. And when you're done, make sure you celebrate, a cup of tea, happy dance, whatever works for you. You can also collect those Post-it notes so that in the future you can see how much you progressed. And always make sure to turn your failures into useful feedback so you can learn from things that worked and didn't work for you. And then your progress is pretty much inevitable. And finally, I shared with you a link to my planner. It's in the description. Check it out. It's pretty great. And finally, I hope this was very useful for you. So if you want more of those really high intensity, practical advice on how to improve your productivity, how to become a better version of yourself, and without sacrificing the joy in life, right? Like that's a big deal for me. I built a massive technology company. At 23, I became a vice president of an aerospace company in Silicon Valley. And I really pushed myself super hard. And then I learned the hard way that just the traditional time management productivity systems, they just push you towards burnout. So I'm going to be sharing more about burnout, about setting goals. I will share more about my system, which is based on agile and neuroscience, So if you enjoy this topic, if you want to become your own personal coach, subscribe for this channel and click the bell so that you will get notifications of the future videos. I will make sure that they are super dense, concentrated, and very practical. And I'll see you in the next video.